Hi everyone, Dom Famularo here. The Artist Series at a Distance. I'm excited to continue this series because we really are able to kind of tap into the world of some great musicians, some great leaders of the industry. And today, I am so honored, guitarist, singer, songwriter, would you please welcome Mr. Mark Farner.
Hey, brother Dom, good to be with you.
Mark, thank you so much for joining us. You know, I am so inspired by all that you have done, and your music is just so great. It's so pure. You seem to really speak, and everything that you write comes directly from your heart.
Well, that is my intention, brother. I hope that is what everybody is feeling, that in every creator's heart, they want people to hear where it's coming from without being clouded by issues and other things. And for you to say that just encourages, and I would like to thank you for bringing that part out, because that's who we really are, man. It's all about love.
It really is, and you clearly embody that in all the music that you've written and all the music that you perform, and even continuing with what you're doing right now. That seems to be your major focus. So I got to ask you, where did that come from? When you were younger, when you got involved with music, how did it all start for you?
I was involved with music from the time I was a little shaver. My mother moved from Leechville, Arkansas to Flint, Michigan when she was 16 years old. The whole family came to get jobs at Turnstead, at Buick, at Chevy Stamp and Frame, at Fisher Body. But a lot of the people that we hung with, they came from Mississippi, Louisiana, from Georgia, from the Carolinas, from Kentucky, Tennessee. People moved north to get these high-paying auto factory jobs. And when they moved, they brought their instruments with them, Dom. They brought them, and we got together every Sunday, my family. My Grandpa Cotton would play fiddle and banjo, and Uncle Woody played guitar, and Uncle Brian guitar. My dad blew saxophone. And the women, oh my God, they sang like angels. I wish I could have recorded that stuff back then. I've got it here. And until they come up with a way to dig this up and play it, I'm just going to have to hoard it to myself. But I'm telling you, it was what got me interested in music. It was so beautiful. Mm-hmm. And you know, we're just eating Southern fried chicken and hockey puck dumplings or sloppy joes, one of the two. And we'd either meet at my Aunt Dorothy's house, and she had 6 kids. My ma had 6 kids, and everybody came, the uncles, aunts, like I said, the whole family. The place was crowded, and it was music. So I was very interested. But when I started playing tuba in the 5th grade, it was because of the music teacher, Mr. Smith. I really wanted to play a baritone. I tried out for that, and Mr. Smith came over and put his arm around me. He says, "Mark, can you try this mouthpiece for me?" And it's for a tuba, and I'm going, "Yeah, try that for you." So I blew on it, and he says, "Perfect, I'm moving you over to tuba." So, 5th grade, a tuba is kind of heavy for a 5th grader. So, and it was brass, brother. There was none of this imitation tuba. This was real tuba. And so I walked with a little list to the left, But when I saw the football players, when we would march that band onto the field, and I watched. The girls weren't watching us. They were watching those guys in the tight breeches coming out there with the numbers on them. That's what the girls' attention was. After 3 years of that in the band stuff, I said, I'm going to try out for football. And I tried out, and we ran around the perimeter of the football field 3 times. And the first people that came in made the team. I was number 2.
Interesting.
Yeah. So it went from my mother saw me, I was so disgruntled because I couldn't play ball anymore. I loved to hear my name called out on that loudspeaker, Dom. Number 66, Farner, in on the tackle. And I'm going, I'd be prancing like, oh man, I'd just be strutting my stuff going across that field. But when I got hurt, the doctor told my mother, no more football. He won't be running track this fall. He's hurt and blah, blah, blah. And my mother, to console me, she knew that I loved hearing my name called out and that I needed that attention in my life. Musicians, we need extra attention. This is part of the reason we do it. We need that extra attention. And so she got me 6 lessons and rented a K acoustic guitar that would have better been used for like a bow and arrow set. The strings are this far away from the neck, brother. I'm telling you, it was something else. But I took my first 3 lessons, and the guitar teacher I had really literally shot himself in the foot. It was bird season, ringneck pheasant in northern Michigan. And he was out hunting and he shot himself in the foot. And he told my mother, Mark's going to have to learn from, going and watching the guys in the high school band. He's doing good already and he knows enough to follow. So I went on and I watched the guys in the high school band. I watched what chords they're making. And then I could go up there and I'm saying, hey, what was that chord you? It kind of looked like this. And they go, no, your first finger goes over here and this. And they would just play like the Venture stuff, Walk, Don't Run, and all instrumental stuff. Wipe Out. We had a good drummer. He could really wipe it out. But it wasn't like, falling in my lap. I really had to work for it. None of those guys sang. I said, well, I know some Chuck Berry songs. If you want to do some that sing, I'll sing them. They go, you can sing? I'd say, yeah, I can sing a little bit. So I would do the Chuck Berry, Nadine and Johnny Be Good, all those. Oh my, I loved, back then it was Chuck Berry and Johnny Be Good was like, I could, there was no video to that, Dom. I had that video running in my mind every time that song played. And I think that is a big part of what is missing in today's music is that creativity that was spawned by no video. It was our own personal imagination feeding us the video. Just like when somebody reads a book and they go to see the movie, they always say, that movie sucked, man. The book was better. Because our imagination is so much better than what they could put on that television. But that part of us, my brother, has been waning, has been hurting, that creative part. Ever since videos came in, it's like there's one definition to the song. But let me tell you about talking to my brother on WNEW New York. And he says, dude, we got 100 people to give us their definition of the song Bridge Over Troubled Water by Simon and Garfunkel. He says, I want to tell you, Mark, there was 100 diversely different definitions. And that is what we are missing out on. We kind of painted ourselves into a corner here with all these videos. We need our imagination back.
Well, what an important subject to talk about, because, it's kind of interesting now with technology the way it is, and everything is delivered at such a high level of clarity, that one vision on that video, to a certain degree, it stifles imagination.
Yeah.
And what happened years ago, before all this technology, we were really on our own to try to create.
Yes, absolutely. Look at the monumental, the festivals, all the people that would show up. Woodstock, they wanted to come and boogie, man. They wanted to party. And it happened. That was all prior to any videos. It was our imaginations. We were a community. Our DJs were part of what kept us tight as a community. And the music that they played was what we were calling in and asking them to play. And the people were so much a part of what we listened to back then until 96 and the deregulation of the FCC. And that's when it all went to the crapper. Yeah. And I mean bad. It went from having personality behind a microphone who was very familiar with the area, very familiar with every caller. He would identify just by listening to the caller's voice and say, "Hey, John, how you doing tonight?" You know, it was community, brother. And we were tight. Everybody around Flint, Michigan, we were tight because the jocks were keeping us that way. And it was very personal, but it's left the personal realm and it's gotten into this competitive realm now of where you got to do this, you got to do that. It's no longer, who we are coming from our heart, what comes naturally. We've got to prime ourselves to do this so we can cookie cutter something to fit that pigeonhole. It's all horsey poo-poo, brother.
Well, Fisher, it has definitely changed in today's field the way it is. So what was it? So you start to play with different bands and you're starting to hang out with different musicians and playing different tunes. What was happening at that stage of your life?
The band that I started playing with, singing, in fact, I had my cord would go from my guitar back to this little amplifier I had. It was a Harmony. My mother got the Harmony guitar and matching amplifier on Fingerhut, brother. Catalog. So there it is on this stage, and my cord went through the handle and it hung over the back. It was not plugged into an input, but my little red light was on, so it appeared, though, that I was playing. And I milli vanillied it, dude, until I got good enough to start playing, and they plugged me in, and that's how it worked.
So when did you start having more confidence by playing the instrument and having a handle on now being a part of the band?
Well, Dom, I was hoping you would ask that question. Enter Uncle Woody. He was one of the guitar players that would come over on Sunday and he'd play and sing. And oh man, he had a beautiful voice. And he says, "Well, what's your problem?" I said, "Well, the guitar plays this rhythm and the vocal sings a counter rhythmic part. And it's just hard for me to do playing this rhythm and singing a different one here. It's really hard." He says, "Okay, if that's all you're struggling with, your struggles are over." He said, "Sit down there across the table." And he put me in his dining room. He put the Flint Journal across the table from me, upside down. And he says, "Now, I want you to start reading all the bold print. You're not going to be able to read the fine print from where you're sitting, but I want you to read and train your brain to read upside down and backwards." And so I sit there and I'd turn to the next page and I'd read that and I'd read that. And he says, "How you doing?" I said, "Well, I'm getting to where I don't have to struggle too bad. I can kind of recognize the words as if they were written forwards for me." He says, "Good, you're coming right along." He says, keep doing that. And so I did that for like an hour sitting at Uncle Woody's table. He says, "Well, let me know, because I want you to keep doing this every day. Let me know how you progress once you get home, pick up your guitar." I'm telling you, Dom, that was the key that unlocked that mystery for me, because what you have to do when you're reading something backwards and upside down, you're going to use both hemispheres of your brain. You're going to tie that knot right there. And once you do that and you learn how to do that and you do it with confidence, you will be able to play a completely different rhythm than what you are singing, and you would do it with confidence. I'm telling you, it works. It works.
Boy, what a great educational tool that was, because now that puts you into a place where you develop the independence of playing whatever rhythm you wanted to play on that guitar, and you can sing now and have control over the lyrics. So now your first joint musically, as you started to develop that skill, where did that take you to?
Well, it took me to they started plugging me in. They said, "Man, you're good enough to plug you in now. I mean, come on, let's rock this. Let's do this." I went on. I graduated into another band situation with Kurt Johnson, a friend of mine who was one of the roadies in the Grand Funk entourage for all the first years and, for many years. But we got together with Barry Boucher, who had a Wurlitzer. He had one of those brown Wurlitzer pianos, man, that had that funky, that tone, man, that those tines in the Wurlitzer were the stuff. And so we got together with Rod Raymond on drums and Barry Boucher and Mickey Thompson on the bass and Kurt Johnson on guitar, me on guitar. And brother, we had it all through a Silvertone amp. Every microphone, we had those Y splitters. We had all the mics. We had the bass, the guitars, everything in the Silvertone amp, and we thought we were badass.
I want the audience to understand the Silvertone amp was a small little amplifier, and you crammed in guitars and bass and microphones. It was amazing, but you did it. You played music. You all felt empowered, and people were entertained by this.
That's right. 6-inch speakers in the Silvertone.
How amazing compared to the equipment that they have available today to use. It's just absolutely amazing that you pursued that and you still persevered. Some of the challenges that we had years ago was tough, but you persevered. What drove you to keep on going?
It's my heart. I lost my dad when I was 9 years old, and it really, really broke my heart bad. I had experienced losing an uncle and a grandfather prior to that, but that was not similar to losing my father. I saw my mother grieving and everything, and the family came over. The dining room was full of people that were crying, and I was like 9 years old. I'm kind of looking up and walking around and seeing everybody. And my father, Delton Farner, he was a World War II veteran, tank driver in the 7th Armored Division, and he returned home with 4 Bronze Stars.
Incredible.
He was a loved man. His heart was full of love. And I got my love from him and my mom. I mean, it's there, and my love for the music. But that particular day when I was, looking up at everybody, I kind of just walked into the living room, and my dad had just bought a television. We always listened to the radio prior to the TV. We listened to Flash Gordon and the Lone Ranger and the Creaking Door, and everybody, all my cousins were all gathered around the radio with a barrel bag of popcorn. Everybody's shoving buttered popcorn down their throat, and our imaginations were at work just watching that speaker kind of flap that. And Billy Graham is on the TV, and he's doing a crusade in Flint, Michigan, and he starts saying, if you're hurting, if you need a touch from the Lord, and all of a sudden it's like my little 9-year-old ears were, I turned and I'm looking I'm thinking, is he talking to me? I'm standing there, and he says, if you need the touch from God, come over and put your hand on a television set and pray with me. And I did. I needed a touch from God, and that love came into me. I got an encouragement as a 9-year-old kid. I didn't know what this was, but I guarantee you it was genuine. I knew it was genuine. And my songs, I try to reach from that place of love and to compel people to not believe in all this other stuff we've been programmed to be indebted to, because love sets us free. And my ambition, brother, before I check out of this bone suit, I'm going to get free.
Well, it's amazing to think about your childhood and your parents who were very supportive. And I believe your mom also was one of the first women welders.
Yes.
During World War II. So that means she probably welded some of the Sherman tanks that your dad rode in.
That's right. Yeah, I remember the picture of her on the Flint Journal with her striker in her right hand, her helmet tipped back, and she's got her fist clenched like, we can do this kind of thing. So with that as a background and a lot of love, I couldn't lose.
But it really is a phenomenal story. It's almost like a bit of a movie when you think about just the fact of where you came from and how spiritual you are now. And as I said, from Grand Funk Railroad, and then you got involved with contemporary Christian music, which is incredible, and a platinum recording artist 30 times over. I mean, you really started to reach millions of people. So what happened with now composing? Where did that kind of come in? You're playing guitar, writing. How did that evolve?
Well, the writing, when we first got together, we started rehearsing at the Flint Federation of Musicians Hall on Averill in Flint, Michigan. We would be jamming, setting up our stuff, and I would start just a basic chord jam, just some chords, just to get moving. Well, let's play this, And they go, yeah, that's cool, man. You got words for that? I said, well, not yet. I just wrote that part. So, but the words, I'm thinking I could say, are you ready? And they going, oh, well, dude, we'll go down to McDonald's and we'll get something to eat. We'll bring you something back. Maybe by the time we get back here, you'll have it finished. And it happened every time they left. They came back. I would have at least one song, maybe 2 or 3 written in the time they left. I kid you not. They just came just fast, just like that. And when I'd play them and sing them for the guys, they're going, oh, my God. Yeah, that's it. Well, that's where our first album came from. It came from them taking a break and me writing.
So who were the musicians that you were working with at that time?
Don Brewer, the drummer for Grand Funk, and Mel Shocker, the bass player from Grand Funk. Yeah, those guys, they would go take their break, and by the time they got back and brought my cheeseburgers, I'd have the stuff ready, and we would do the song, put it down, man. Okay, that's one. Let's get another one,
Boy, I had the chance to talk to Don on several occasions, and what a phenomenal drummer and musician he is. And what's incredible about it is that you kind of got together. This was kind of like, to a certain degree, fate speaking. You were from the same area. You were kind of into the same thing. You start writing these songs, and all of a sudden, everyone's putting their heads together to evolve this Grand Funk Railroad sound.
Yes, absolutely. Assembly line rock and roll from Flint, Michigan.
So you start putting these songs together. They come back. You guys are eating your fast food. You're putting the songs together. When was like the first gig where you started playing these original tunes?
The first gig that we did was the first Atlanta Pop Festival in 1969.
Yeah.
We had played upstate New York at the Hamburg County Fair prior to this, but it was like a county fair, nobody ever heard of us. We didn't have a record deal. We were not famous, but people liked us. Yeah. People liked us. They liked that sound, and they loved to dance. So when we had the opportunity to do the Atlanta Pop Festival, due to the fact that our attorneys, well, they weren't our attorneys, they were Terry Knight's attorneys, but they were doing the legal work for this festival. And they negotiated a deal whereby we would go on and play for free and open this festival at 12 noon, and get our break. But when we did that, after the fiasco of getting there, oh my God, our friend who lent us his window van, Jeep Holland from Ann Arbor, Michigan, lent us his van and his driver, Jimmy. And we rented a U-Haul trailer, put all our West amps in there, and headed for Atlanta. But this was before I-75 was complete, and we were on back roads and what have you. And Jimmy started driving when we all left Michigan. It was probably 7 p.m., something like that. So it was, getting late. He drove all night, and it's like just starting to break dawn. And I look up and I see this I-75 and the arrow points to the right. And I was riding shotgun, so I sat up in the seat and I said, Jimmy, that sign says I-75 to the right here. And he turned. He didn't, I don't know, he'd been driving too long. He wasn't thinking. He just turned. And that U-Haul rolled, and the safety chain snapped like they were made out of spaghetti or something. And that thing rolled down through the ditch. We end up taking out all the equipment. We right the trailer, put it back on the wheels, hook it back on this van, pull it up, drag all the equipment up there, throw it in. We can see that stuff is broken and stuff, but we don't have time to mess with this now. We got to get to Atlanta. So we go down the shoulder of the expressway, and all of a sudden a wheel passes us. And what the heck is that? I look around and there's sparks flying. I said, oh my God, it's off the trailer. Oh my God. And this wheel goes across. It was going into the oncoming traffic, the northbound traffic. And it just missed a big semi truck, just went over the top of this thing. And thank you, Lord. And we had to go and retrieve this thing way to hell and gone on the other side of the expressway. We end up getting the tire back over, they jack it up. We take 2 lug nuts off the other side of the trailer because the lug nuts had completely stripped off of there. We got them to seat in there just enough. The tire kind of went like this now. A little bit of wobble to it, but we just nursed it along about 5 miles an hour. And this next exit had a U-Haul trailer place. We swapped them out, put all the stuff in a new trailer, and headed out. Well, when we got to Atlanta, the roadies pulled the stuff out. The transformers, Dom, were pulled completely off the chassis, ripped. They ripped the metal. It was a bad deal. These guys had solder in their teeth. They were soldering wires back together, leads. They were putting leads together. And back then, it was not just our roadies. When all these other bands that had equipment there and they were waiting on us to get our stuff off, they saw what was going on. All these roadies came together. It was like a family of roadies, and there had to be like 10 roadies that got us up on that stage and got us to where we could play on the downbeat on time. I'm telling you, it was a community of good-hearted folks. And after we played to this audience, and I mean, before we had seen actually the volume of this audience, how big this audience was, the only thing we could really do is like peek out through the fence and see maybe 10 or 15 rows into the crowd. But you could hear this rumble, man, there's something big going on out there. There's like a beehive. So when I got to the top of the steps, which is now, I'm on deck about 15 feet over the audience's head. I can look out there and it's a sea of people. It is a ocean of nothing but bobbing heads. And, I'm going, oh, man, I really got to take a pee. Oh, my God, do I? And the roadie says to me, Bookman says, no, man, you got to take that stage. It's now or never. Okay. So we went out, we gave them the first album, and we gave them Land of a Thousand Dances, Wilson Pickett style. I'm sure you're familiar.
Absolutely.
And that gave me the opportunity to bust out, take my guitar off, and I had this $50 paisley print shirt on, and $50 back then was a lot of money, buddy. It was a see-through paisley print, and it was sticking to me so bad. I mean, this Michigan boy in 110 degrees, I was sweating bullets, man. And this thing was sticking to me. And I said, I'm getting rid of this. And I ripped that shirt off and the audience went crazy. I said, that worked. That worked. So I kept it in the set, Dom.
That is fantastic. So you play the gig, you start to realize that the band has incredible potential, and you go on to play, gig and gig after that. I mean, that festival put you on the fast track for sure, because you topped the Billboard chart twice, and both of them, the anthem We're an American Band in 73, and then the 74 Locomotion. I mean, you guys this was on fire now.
Yeah, man. With the producers, with Todd Rundgren, Jimmy Einer, we had Zappa at the last there. We had some great people to work with, and they understood us. They really understood us. Like Todd, he was the first producer that we'd worked with that, he'd be reading a book. It wasn't a big deal to him. He could just have his feet up on the console. We are out there playing our brains out, man, just really straining not to make any mistakes. You know how it is now. So, he's in there reading a book. Okay. that's a good one. We'll keep that one. But one day when we were at the studio, the swamp, we lovingly referred to it as a swamp. We had to dig a pond next to it to get the ground to perk test so we could put a septic system. So when Zappa was out, we used that. All that dirt from the pond was a great big hill, mound of this huge 100 feet long, mound. We used that for the backstop for him to shoot his first pistol, his first gun. It was great. Yeah. And with Rundgren, we were going back and forth. I would go to the farmhouse across the street from the studio to eat my lunch. And then I'd come back and, we'd go at it. But lunch would generally take an hour and a half, about that, long. And so I'm coming back from lunch and I heard the guys in the parking lot and they were, milling around. They were having a smoke and talking, what have you. So I just started saying, everybody's doing a brand new dance now. And then you hear the guys, come on, baby, dude. They're singing the backgrounds. I can't see them yet because the forest is in the way, but I could hear them. And the sun is shining. I'm walking down the 2-track. And just as I make the turn, and I'm still singing, and they're still singing, and Rundgren comes out of the studio and he goes, what is that? What is that? I said, what is that? That's Little Eva, man. That's the Locomotion. He says, well, get in here right now because we're going to do that song. We're going to do the Locomotion. Come on, we're going to record it. I went, really? And yeah, that was it. So we got in there. And he hit go, hit that red button on the 2-inch 24 track and came out and he sang all of the falsetto parts. And he's a guy clanging the ashtray together. And it was just a good time. It was a fun time in the studio. And Rundgren walked over and grabbed the tape head on my Echoplex. When it came to the guitar solo on Locomotion, he would run that back and forth. Just... It sounded like the guitar was eating itself. It was all fun. It was all up key, upbeat. It was, man, everything was fun. It came out in the grooves that way, my friend. Yeah. It was fun.
Boy, it's so great to hear the fact that the enthusiasm and the childlike passion was what you guys were just pushing through everything that you did. The fun, the enthusiasm, and that comes across in the music. It's incredible.
Exactly, brother. You can't sidestep it. When it's that good, it's going to be part of the mix.
So here you are now. The band starts recording more. You're traveling. You're coming out with several albums. How did you organize all this here? Did you have management? Did you guys kind of keep tabs on what was happening?
Well, we did not keep tabs close enough. We trusted management, which was my first mistake. I kind of told Brewer up front, I said, Terry Knight, he was pitching us to be our manager because he had a resident in New York City and he had some connections. And Don says to me, well, at least we get out of Flint, Michigan. And I look at Brewer and I go, okay, let's give him a try. We didn't realize how bad we were getting it stuck to us. But one of the straws that broke the camel's back was at the end of our 3-year contract with Terry Knight, they called us into the attorney's office in New York City. They said, you boys owe $400,000 to the Internal Revenue Service and you don't have it. So here's what we would like to do. We propose that we will loan you this $400,000 if you sign another 3-year contract with us, with Terry Knight. And I said, you guys, this isn't something that you can just make up your mind on a moment. You got to think about this. We need to talk this over without you guys in the room. And so they said, okay, we'll go in the other room. And I thought, those dipsticks, they took it literally, where I just wanted to leave right then and go someplace, back to the hotel and talk. But they left and they walked out and they left us in this room. Well, I sat in the attorney's big chair, his big old comfortable chair, and I kicked my feet up on the desk down. And I'm saying, boy, we're really in a pickle. What are we going to do now? Yeah. And Don was saying something, going, "Oh my God! Well, we can't let the IRS mess with. We can't, they can make life bad for you." I was like, "Oh, this fear tactic, right?" And I said, "Yeah, but," and as I said, "Yeah," and I sat up, my feet drug off of the desk and hit that top drawer, which was open maybe about that far, but my heel caught it and opened it. And wham, in front of me in that top drawer, here is the contract between Goodnight Productions, which is Terry Knight's company, and Capitol Records. Now, Terry told us that the 6% that the band was receiving was more than the Beatles got. So we went, "Ooh, we're getting more than the Beatles. Whoopee." Yeah. But I look at this contract, Dom, I'm seeing a contract for 16%, which means Terry was taking 10, the band was splitting 6, and Terry was taking a management commission of our measly little 2% each. When I showed those guys, I said, "Look at this, come over here. I'm not going to touch it, but you got to read this." And all of a sudden, Don's here, Mel's here, our 3 heads are looking at this contract. We shut the drawer. We got to tell them, "We can't do this. We got to have more time to think about it." So that's what we told them. We said, "We got to have more time to think about this. We're not going to be able to make up our mind right now. So we'll talk to you in a couple of days." So we get an attorney. We get Eastman and Eastman, New York City. Eastman's sister is the gal who married Paul, Paul McCartney. So we thought we were in the right territory. Some big names here, but court is just, stay out of it. It is just a waste of time, and it really depletes your energy and it sends you on a negative trip. So my advice is stay out of it. We settled out of court, of course, and we got the name. And Terry Knight got everything else, but we got the name, and we kind of like started over again with the Phoenix album on Capitol in 72.
Well, it's kind of amazing when you think about just the fact that you took charge of how fate opened that drawer for you. You took charge of what had to happen. At that point on, how did you set the business up?
Well, at that point, we had Andy Cavalieri, who was our road manager and who had been telling us some of the financial figures just so that we knew we had wind of it, and merchandise and stuff like this. We were not into the business of, keeping track of the business. We thought we had a manager doing all that, and all we had to do was have fun and play music. We don't ever think that unless your dad or your mom, who is the attorney, running the show, because no other attorney is going to do that. And no other manager would do that for you. So you really got to be careful who you put into that position. And we found out the hard way now.
Well, it's kind of interesting when you think about how it was years ago to how it is now, as far as the potential that we can seek out information, we can get lawyers to work for us and managers. So you go through all this here, but somehow you made this all happen. You wrote the songs, you're out there performing, you put this together. The band Grand Funk Railroad has and continues to inspire people.
Thank you. I appreciate that, and the people in Santiago will appreciate that.
It's really incredible when you think about all that goes on. And then, in the course of time, you got involved in Christian music. How did that? Where did that come about?
Well, in '82, my wife left me, and I had 2 boys at home. I was halfway through a 12-pack one day. I looked over in the corner of my house, and we're in a log cabin that we had built with our own 2 hands, with the help of some friends, of course. But I bought a sawmill out of the back of Popular Mechanics magazine, and I took the motor off my John Deere number 55 combine, and I sawed up a house in my barn with this sawmill, and we built a 4,000 square foot home. So we're back on the end of this, next to some state land on the end of a dirt road. And I'm looking over in the corner, and all of a sudden it was like the corner was etched out, like, and I saw myself in a vision, and it wasn't the beer. Trust me, this was not. I saw myself in a vision being that 9-year-old boy with my hand on the television set and praying with Billy Graham. And I went, oh my God, I need God. I got to go find God. So, I mean, I started going to these churches and go in and hellfire and brimstone. I would just walk right out of something like that. I know that this is not love. And they try to scare you using fear to push people. And I said, this is not a church I want to be a part of. This is BS church. And a lot of churches are that way. You become indebted to whatever their routine is, when really love wants us free. It doesn't want us in any kind of debt whatsoever. In fact, the Bible says, owe no man anything except to love him. So I went into, finally got this little church, was a AOG church, and this guy, 86-year-old pastor, gets up there and he starts preaching on the institution of marriage according to God's word, and how most people walk out the front door of the church and they really don't implement the oath. They don't take it as it was an oath to love, because God is love, and you're pledging yourself, giving yourself to one another in love. And man, it was like this guy, he had the gun out, and he wasn't shooting blanks, man. These were all live rounds, and he's shooting and he's hitting me in the heart, and I'm going, oh. And when he gave an altar call, I trotted my little body up there, and I rededicated my life to serve love, to serve the Lord. And I said to this pastor, I said, Pastor, my wife has left me, and I really got to have her back. I'm going to die of loneliness, and my kids, oh my God, I've been making up excuses and that. I says, can we pray that God will bring her back? He says, you pray, I'll agree. So I just started, in my own words, I said, well, bring her back. I don't care. Whatever she's done, I'll forgive her. I'll bring her back. And that day, brother, she gave her life to Christ 50 miles away in another city. And 2 days after that, we got back together. We celebrated 43 years on January 8th this year. And that's where we're going to stay. Love is above every other test. It's above every other achievable goal. Love is resident within each one of us. And I found out that we all are going to get this. I mean, I believe that the blood of Jesus is that good. It got us all. And there's nobody going to miss out on this. Temporarily, we are set up in a bone suit, and we're doing things. I'm playing music in my bone suit. But when I leave this bone suit, brother, I know, because I've already left it, and I've already been in heaven twice when I had my pacemaker put in. It is a relief, and you don't realize it until you are in that state of being. But this is where you came from. When I got there, it was like, oh my God, I'm home. This is it. I know, because when I re-entered the bone suit and I was kicking against it, dude, I didn't want to come back. Yeah. At the time, my son Jesse, our boy, had broke his neck and was quadriplegic, and we were taking care of him here in our house for 8 years. And I still had that responsibility, but heaven was so good. I didn't want to come back to any of that. I was fighting against it because I was finally set free on that side. And with just an inkling of that still in me, I'm stronger about my faith today, Dom. And I'm very convinced that we all get the same reward. No matter what you do, we all get the same reward, because love is unconditional. And the first person that says, but, zip your lip shut. There ain't no buts in it. Love don't have no buts.
Boy, what a powerful message. I got to ask you something. In closing, we have a variety of thousands of people that review these videos and they watch these. What would you say to the next generation to prepare them for the challenges in music and to prepare them for the courage that they need to follow their passion, to succeed in music in today's time? What would you tell them, Mark?
I would tell my brothers and sisters to hold tight to their dreams, to use their own imagination, to pray to the Creator, and do that in your prayer closet by yourself, where you can pour yourself into yourself and discover who you really are. Be true to your soul. Be true to your heart. Be true to who you are and passionately go after it. You're on a lifetime journey. You have to shut things out that would take you away from this knowledge, but you cannot let yourself become indebted to anything or anyone for any reason. Oh, no man, anything. Of course, we got credit card. Of course, we got a mortgage with a interest on it, and we owe. That's in the physical. I'm talking in our spiritual being. Don't become indebted. Don't allow your spirit to be dampened by something man-made. You are God-made.
Absolutely powerful. What a beautiful message. I must tell you, Mark, the songs that you've written and that you share with us, that you've sung and you've performed, all the albums that you've recorded and what you continue to record, if there's anyone that I know of that has committed to an incredible oath to love, you are the one. You have done that, and on behalf of the sessions, we thank you so much. The Artist Series at a Distance, Mark Farner, you have inspired us all. You continue to inspire us. For that, I thank you so much.
A pleasure, brother. If I don't see you in the future, I'll see you in the pasture.
Now I'm Farner here at the Sessions panel. This is so exciting. Thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. Click the subscribe button to be a part of what we're doing. The views help us tremendously. All of your comments, we read them and react to them. This is incredible. The support you're giving us is great. The Sessions panel, we'll see you real soon.